Have you ever been a part of an interview and thought, is there anything I could have done differently? Is there anything I could have possibly done better? Or is there anything that maybe I could have done worse? My name is Annabelle McKenna, and I'm credible to speak on this topic because I have done extensive research and I have also conducted both of the interviews for this project that allowed me to present my specialist presentation. And as college students, we have already or will experience job interviews at some point in our lives because they're extremely crucial and essential for job applications. And internships and overall any type of career field or job that you are going into, as interviews do play the role of what kind of gets you the job. And after conducting my 2 interviews with the different professionals that I chose, I noted that good, effective interviews depend on a variety of factors that will determine if the interview is successful or not. So today I'm going to be talking about how clear communication, professional behavior, and being properly prepared all play a role in crafting an effective and meaningful interviews. So my first main point is going to be clear communication is key when initiating and conducting an interview. So the first main point I'm going to talk about is verbal and nonverbal communications. So I noted that in both of my interviews, there was a lot of verbal and nonverbal communication. My interviewees also noted, since I took plenty of notes on that, they also noted that being nervous is totally okay as long as your answers remain clear. So during the interview, as long as you can even admit that you're nervous, as long as your answers are clear and you effectively answer the question, that is successful verbal communication. And also they noted that limiting your use of filler words when asked to describe an experience. So you want to be as detailed and as meaningful as you possibly can be when describing that experience to your interviewer. As my interviewees were to me, they were very explicit and they limited their filler words extremely and gave me every detail they could in really very few words, but it was so effective. The next main point I'm going to be touching on is tone, pitch, and eye contact. So according to Stewart in their 2021 textbook, Interviewing Principles and Practices, they note that eye contact may show you are attentive, interested, and honest. Voice, tone, rate, and force may complement the verbal call attention to important words or indicate which party controls the interview. So tone, pitch, and eye contact are also extremely important when doing an interview. My interviewees also talked about and also demonstrated in the interview how eye contact, just those non-verbal cues, really show that they were listening to me, leaning into the conversation, nodding, using meaningful hand gestures. That was also a very good example of why these interviews can be successful. And then finally, for this main point, interview insight from examples from my interview. So both of the people I chose to interview had similar views on both of these topics that I interviewed them about. They also had plenty to know about the verbal and nonverbal portions of interviews, talking just kind of about how important really those are in an interview. So now that I have discussed how clear communication creates a successful plan for interviewing, I will now talk about why having professional behavior during an interview is also just as important. So, having professional behavior during an interview is important for a variety of many different reasons. So, the first point I have here is dress and attitude. So, in a quote from Stewart in their 2021 textbook, they mention that dress and appearance are critical elements in making a favorable first impression. Your clothes and accessories should support the strong image you want to make, an image that shows confidence, attentiveness for details, and understanding of what is appropriate dress and appropriate for formal business setting in your field. And obviously for this presentation, it was more of a professional dress, which is why we were all dressed very nice and professional for this interview. They also noted, my interviewees noted how there is always an unspoken type of dress code for interviews, and that's why I also have this picture here that talks about the different types of clothes for men, the different types of clothes for women, what to avoid, and then what to add, and then also how you can even earn extra little bonus points with your interviewers. The next sub point I have is going to be timing and punctuality. So both of my interviewees had really great perspectives when it came to being on time and being punctual. My first interviewee noted that being on time and punctual for most employers is absolutely non-negotiable. You must be on time, because if you're late to the interview, it kind of just already sets a bad precedent for how the whole thing's going to go. They're already going to kind of have a negative view on how that's going to already play out if you're late, and that's just kind of going to show you don't have enough respect for that interview, so why would they want to hire you? And then some common mistakes to avoid. So, excuse me. According to the Indeed editorial team in their 2025 article, Common Interviewing Mistakes and How to Avoid Them, they go on to mention how adequate preparation beforehand and appropriate demeanor during interviews are one of the paramount importances of most positive interviewing experiences possible. So, being prepared for your interview, not having any kind of really common mistakes attitude-wise, which both of my interviewees also pointed out, and just already kind of having a knowledge for what you're going into for the interview is extremely appropriate. And there are many mistakes that you can easily avoid that are very common that a lot of people have trouble avoiding. So it's very important, like both my interviewees said, to know what those mistakes are and to just already learn about them, overcome them, just be knowledgeable about them. So now that I've mentioned the reasons as to why having professional behavior during interviews is important, I'm going to discuss how being prepared for an interview can help your chances of getting hired. So, being prepared for an interview can help you get hired and keep you looking informed. So, the first sub point is going to be like the lack of preparation for the interview. So, being unprepared for an interview can ultimately be the downfall to your interview. My interviewees noted that candidates who do their research tend to stand out amongst all the other candidates. So, people that actually go into doing their research, looking at what the questions are going to be, looking at common interview questions, researching the job after the job application, kind of like in our job description, what we did in class. That's really what makes a candidate stand out from the other candidates, is also my interviewees told me as well. They also noted that have some familiarity and practice with common interview questions. So already kind of know some basic common interview questions like, what are some strengths about yourself, some weaknesses, some things that maybe you have heard a few times in an interview. Just practice those with yourself, with your friends, even with your parents. That can also help such a big deal. And then the second next point is not asking any questions during interviews. So in Stewart's textbook, they go on to note that questions may be the most powerful technology we've ever created because they allow us to control our lives and allow us to make sense of a confusing world by leading to insight and understanding, as well as it is difficult to conceive of an interview in which questions do not play crucial roles in the interactional process. They are literally the tools for the interview trade, much like golf clubs, screwdrivers, wrenches, knives, and brushes are to artists and everybody else like that. And that was from our textbook. So just stating how even asking your interviewees questions is just as important as them asking you questions. You want to make sure you get all of your understanding in there as well, just as they get an understanding for you. You want to get a feel to make sure this is the job for you as well, and you're not just getting hired for a check. And then finally, some examples from my interviews. The best advice that I really got was they gave me just really good perspective on the different other sides of doing interviews. One of them noted that being able to listen to the interviewer is just as important as answering questions. So just having active listening skills, being able to active listen in these certain situations, in these interviews, is so important, especially to your interviewees or interviewers. And they also noted that being confident in yourself, walk into the interview like you already have the job. So confidence is key, and everybody should have that little bit of confidence walking to the interview. Obviously not like an ego boost where you're cocky, like you've already gotten the job, but definitely something along the lines of, I know I got this, I know I can do it. So, in conclusion, today I talked about how clear communication, professional behavior, and being prepared all play a role in crafting effective and meaningful interviews. These interviews I conducted really effectively shown that successful interviews are created by many different things that affect the overall process, not just by the questions, not just by the interview work, but by many different things that lead it to be successful. So there's a big difference in getting hired and just going in for a simple interview. It can all come down to how well you communicated, acted during the interview, and prepared for it. So just being prepared for an overall interview and having just these skills and these assets and listening, they really can help you all to get hired and have a successful, meaningful interview. So these are my references, and thank you so much.